Get back to assess her new brand as ever. She's previously hinted she might never restock her jam because the first batch sold out within 45 minutes. Now, the first batch was, 60 jars?
Imagine crafting something so personal, so carefully curated, that you begin to believe it could be your second act. The comeback story the world never saw coming. Now imagine all of that shattering in a single bite. Not a scandal, not a leaked email, not even a tell-all interview. Just one spoonful of jam. That's exactly what happened to Meghan Markle. In an age where celebrities rebrand faster than the seasons change, Meghan thought she'd cracked the code. Her plan was elegant in its simplicity. No politics, no Netflix drama, no royal shade, just a jar of luxury raspberry jam.
But stepping back from a brand that you've only just launched suggests to me it's not been as successful as someone might have hoped. Let's talk to royal biographer of her husband, Prince Harry, Angela Levin.
It wasn't just a condiment, it was a lifestyle statement. A symbol of her rebirth in the serene world of wellness. The carefully designed pastel jars, the hand-lettered fonts, the buzzwords like organic and mindfully sourced, all crafted to represent a softer, more grounded Meghan. This wasn't about royalty, this was about reinvention. But then, in a twist no PR firm could spin, her dream collided with reality. And not just any reality, Gordon Ramsay's unfiltered, unforgiving palate. He didn't try to spare her feelings. He didn't politely decline. He took one bite, spat it out, and publicly obliterated the product with a comment so savage, it ricocheted across social media like a wildfire. Within hours, the backlash had gone viral, and Meghan's jam, her metaphorical fresh start, was reduced to nothing more than the punchline of a meme. But here's the thing, this wasn't just a bad review. This was a public unraveling, a luxury brand undone by the brutal honesty of a single moment, a soft launch that exploded into a hard reality. And if you think the drama ended there, think again. Because what followed wasn't just a PR scramble, it was a collapse that exposed deeper cracks in Meghan's entire post-royal identity. And it all started on a sunny afternoon in Los Angeles, with a simple scone. The jam launch wasn't supposed to be loud. It wasn't a red carpet event. There were no press conferences or photo ops, just a quiet debut in one of LA's most exclusive brunch spots, a place frequented by influencers, critics, and those in the know. The perfect stage for an accidental discovery. Meghan's PR team called it a soft launch, but behind the scenes, every detail had been meticulously orchestrated. It wasn't just about introducing a product, it was about establishing an entire brand ethos. The jam, marketed under the name As Ever, was meant to signal a pivot, a clean break from the controversies that had followed Meghan since her royal exit. Gone were the headlines about family feuds and palace politics. In their place, delicate jars of raspberry jam with calming pastel labels and artisanal typography. Words like handcrafted, sustainably harvested, and farm to table adorned each label like badges of virtue. This wasn't just food, it was an aesthetic experience, a moment meant to be shared, Instagrammed, and gushed over.
Success, that she's already having to step back a bit. The reality is, this has been an absolute joke of a brand, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I was told by somebody they were only putting out 10 jars. So, of course, it would all go because I think she sold them to her friend.
Sources close to the brand claimed Meghan had overseen every step, from the fruit selection to the jar design. Friends whispered that she had even hand-packed the first batch herself. It was the kind of detail you'd expect from a lifestyle mogul, not a former duchess. But that was the point. The location had been carefully chosen for maximum visibility without the appearance of a publicity stunt. Subtle elegance, refined luxury. Meghan's team arranged for the jam to be served alongside the restaurant's signature scones, a pairing that, in theory, would showcase the product's rich texture and sophisticated flavor profile. They knew the right guests would be there. They knew the right phones would be recording. What they didn't expect was that Gordon Ramsay would be one of the diners. Unbeknownst to the team, the famously blunt chef had been seated just a few tables away. Known for tearing apart culinary disasters on national television, Ramsay wasn't someone you wanted at a soft launch, unless your product could hold up under fire. Meghan's team hadn't planned for him to try the jam. But fate, or perhaps some twisted culinary karma, had other plans. When the server delivered a scone topped with Meghan's signature raspberry blend to Ramsay's table, it wasn't with ceremony. It was just another plate, another bite, another Tuesday brunch. But that single moment would change everything. The kind of career-defining, or in this case, career-demolishing, moment you can't script. And unfortunately for Meghan, there were no second takes, because what happened next? No one saw coming. Gordon Ramsay is many things: celebrity chef, restaurateur, TV personality, but what he's never been is diplomatic when it comes to food. He's built an empire not just on culinary excellence, but on brutal honesty, the kind that can make grown chefs cry, and Meghan Markle's luxury raspberry jam was about to find out the hard way. According to diners that day, the moment the scone hit his table, Ramsay barely looked up. He was mid-conversation, absent-mindedly spreading the jam across the flaky surface. No cameras, no ceremony. Just a bite, one bite, and that's all it took. Witnesses say he chewed once, maybe twice, before freezing mid-bite, an expression of confusion quickly turning into repulsion. Then came the dramatic pause, the kind that seems to suck the air out of a room. And then he spat the jam into his napkin, shoved the plate aside, and in that unmistakable British snarl, delivered the words that would send Meghan's brand into freefall. "This isn't food, it's a crime against fruit." The room fell silent. Phones discreetly tilted into position. Influencers stopped mid-boomerang. Even the waitstaff froze. What followed was a scorched earth takedown only Ramsay could deliver. The texture? Slimy. The taste? Like cough syrup mixed with cheap perfume. And the branding? Pretentious nonsense. And this wasn't whispered under his breath. It was loud, clear, directed at no one in particular and everyone at once. Within seconds, people were typing. One guest texted a friend. Ramsay just torched Meghan's jam in front of half of West Hollywood.
Told it to her friends. I think they all thought she sent it to them. They had no choice.
Yeah. Well, whatever way it was. So it's been a disaster. And one of the disasters was the packing, which she spent day after day, so she said, poor thing, packing it up the right way and the right colour. And it's cost an absolute fortune. So the whole thing has been a disaster.
The irony? Meghan's team had thought this moment might be buzzworthy, a soft debut with the right people whispering about the Duchess's culinary pivot. Instead, they got detonation. Ramsay didn't just dislike it, he eviscerated it. And because it happened in a room full of plugged-in people, the fallout wasn't going to be limited to the restaurant. The clips were already being shared, and as they made their way onto the internet, the real damage began. The first video hit Twitter within the hour. It was blurry, vertical, and shot from behind a mimosa glass, but the audio was crystal clear. Ramsay's voice cut through the brunch buzz like a hot knife through, well, jam. Tastes like cough syrup mixed with perfume. Within minutes, number Jamgate was trending. What started as a quiet tasting turned into a digital firestorm. Screenshots, memes, reaction videos, social media was relentless. For every tweet defending Meghan, there were 10 more dunking on the product, the brand, and the entire idea of a duchess dabbling in pantry goods. Some of the online commentary was savage. If this jam is organic, I'm a unicorn. Ramsay just said what we were all thinking. Celebrity vanity projects are out of control. She left the palace for this? A food critic posted a side-by-side comparison of the jam's texture to melted lipstick. Another reviewer simply wrote, "If she's calling this premium, then ketchup deserves a Michelin star." The ridicule wasn't just sharp, it was universal. Even users with no dog in the fight were joining in, lured by the sheer absurdity of the situation. But the viral storm didn't stop at social commentary. TikTok creators began reenacting the scene, some mimicking Ramsay's reaction in comedic skits. One clip of someone dramatically spitting out a scone while screaming, "Crime against fruit!" got over 3 million likes in 24 hours. It was no longer about the jam. It was about what it represented: celebrity overreach, branding over substance, and the public's growing exhaustion with polished personas selling subpar products. Meghan's jam had become a symbol of everything audiences were beginning to resent. Meghan's PR team scrambled. Some tweets were quietly deleted, Instagram comments were filtered, damage control emails were drafted, but the genie was out of the bottle. No spin strategy could outpace the virality of the moment. The product wasn't just flopping, it was being dragged across every platform with meme-level intensity. And the louder it got, the more people joined the chorus. Even those who hadn't seen the video began sharing it just to be part of the moment. Meghan's jam wasn't a trending topic, it was a trending joke. And behind closed doors, her inner circle was starting to panic, because they knew this wasn't just a PR issue, it was a reputational crisis. As the memes exploded and hashtags continued to trend, Meghan's team went into full-blown crisis mode. What had started as a weekend brunch buzz had now become an internet firestorm, and there was no controlling the narrative. By the time sunset hit LA, Jamgate had made its way into mainstream tabloids, late-night talk show monologues, and trending YouTube reaction videos. The backlash wasn't slowing down, it was accelerating. Within hours of Ramsay's viral comment, a frantic call was made to the restaurant. Meghan's PR reps begged management to immediately remove the jam from the menu. The kitchen complied, quietly pulling the remaining jars and instructing staff not to speak to the press. But the damage was already done. Removing the product from sight only fueled speculation. If the jam was truly high quality, why the sudden disappearance? What were they trying to hide? Behind the scenes, panic was setting in. Meghan's communications team scheduled back-to-back emergency Zoom calls, roping in publicists, brand consultants, and legal advisors. A new narrative had to be crafted, and fast. Some insiders pushed to blame the restaurant, suggesting improper storage may have altered the flavor or texture. Others floated the idea that Ramsay had a long-standing bias against celebrity brands and was simply grandstanding. One strategy involved highlighting Meghan's hands-on involvement to generate sympathy, painting her as a passionate, small-batch creator unfairly attacked by a ruthless chef. But nothing stuck. Every angle felt desperate, disingenuous. Worse, the internet had already decided that the product's failure wasn't about one bad jar. It was about credibility.
That's been a spectacular success, hasn't it? And I know there are quite a lot, I certainly did, but they did a lot of very nice tarts that were sold at my local supermarket. They're absolutely top notch. But there was some talk that she apparently was the view, I mean, she's got some podcast that's already finished where it's sort of like women found. I mean, I don't bother learning the names of these things because they never last that long.
Even as consultants scrambled to put out fires, damage control became nearly impossible. Social media moves faster than traditional PR. By the time they drafted an official response, thousands of memes had already buried the brand in mockery. And the moment Ramsay doubled down in a follow-up interview, saying he'd rather eat from a bin than touch that jam again, it was clear no polished press release could reverse the fallout. The message was loud and unfiltered. Not just from Gordon Ramsay, but from the entire internet. They weren't buying it, literally or figuratively. If Meghan's PR team hoped this would blow over, the culinary world had other plans. Gordon Ramsay may have lit the fuse, but what followed was a full-blown industry reckoning. Within days, respected chefs and restaurateurs began chiming in, not just online, but in interviews, panels, and even through off-the-record comments at food events. The sentiment was unified and crystal clear. You can't fake craftsmanship. Alice Waters, a pioneer of the organic food movement and one of the most revered voices in sustainable cuisine, reportedly rolled her eyes when asked about the jam scandal. Her response? A dry, cutting statement. You can't brand your way into authenticity. Meanwhile, Thomas Keller, whose restaurants have earned multiple Michelin stars, was approached at a Napa Valley event and, without hesitation, quipped, "I'd rather spread mustard on my croissant." It was a joke, sure, but one loaded with meaning. These weren't internet trolls, these were culinary giants, and they were publicly rejecting the idea that a celebrity could leapfrog into their world with pastel jars and curated Instagram posts. The jam, it seemed, had touched a nerve, not because it was bad, but because it symbolized something much bigger, the commodification of authenticity. For chefs who had spent decades honing their craft, Meghan's entry into the food world felt hollow. It wasn't about ingredients or technique, it was about optics. And in the culinary world, that kind of shortcut doesn't just raise eyebrows, it draws blood. Critics began reevaluating Meghan's entire brand strategy. If this jam was supposed to represent mindful living and artisan values, why did it taste like perfume? If she was hands-on in production, why hadn't she caught the texture issues? Questions mounted and answers were scarce. To make matters worse, whispers started circulating about the actual creation process. Some industry insiders claimed the jam hadn't been made in small batches at all, but rather in a mid-scale facility, with Meghan's hand-packed narrative serving more as branding than truth. Whether or not that was accurate didn't matter. Perception was reality, and the perception was devastating. The message from the food world was clear. Credibility can't be bought. You earn it. Through years of work, consistency, and taste that speaks for itself. Meghan, in their eyes, had tried to skip the line, and Gordon Ramsay, knowingly or not, had kicked the door down on her entire operation. And as more chefs joined the chorus of criticism, Meghan's brand wasn't just suffering from a bad launch, it was suffering from an industry-wide rejection, the kind you don't come back from easily. If Meghan's team hoped to recover through retail, those hopes were quickly dashed. In the days following Ramsay's outburst, Meghan's jam, once poised for boutique shelves and Instagram-ready gift guides, began vanishing, quietly, almost like it had never existed. Several small retailers who had agreed to stock the As Ever line started pulling out of the rollout. Some cited quality concerns, others offered no explanation at all. A few sent out formal emails to customers who had pre-ordered jars, offering full refunds and apologizing for the product's sudden unavailability. The tone was always diplomatic, but the subtext was obvious. We want no part of this disaster. The backlash wasn't just digital anymore. It was impacting inventory, invoices, and revenue. One West Coast gourmet shop, which had proudly promoted the upcoming product on social media just a week earlier, deleted every related post and quietly removed Meghan's jars from their website.
To share it or buy part of it because I didn't think it was any good. So that's why they're not doing it.
They didn't want to be associated with the brand. She said, but didn't she reckon that she, apparently, friends are saying, she expected to, wants to become a billionaire. She wants to make serious money and, and be this successful entrepreneur. But
a high-end retailer in New York, known for spotlighting clean luxury brands, allegedly canceled their contract before the shipment even landed. They didn't need to taste the jam. The internet had done the work for them. And as the dominoes fell, Meghan's team made a telling move. They disabled the purchase button on the As Ever website. Instead of checking out, visitors were met with a vague message and a sign-up form for future updates. It was a soft retreat masquerading as a strategic pause, but anyone paying attention could see it for what it really was: a pullback in defeat.
Absolutely appalling. And it was about 2 sentences on each page. Let me read you the next thing.
Okay.
However, she might really move on and explore the category of fashion on a later date.
God.
I think it is an interesting place for me.
Insiders say the decision wasn't just about bad press, it was about legal risk. Retailers didn't want to be associated with a product already facing reputational ruin. If even one customer claimed the jam was spoiled or unpleasant, it could spark refund demands or worse, a formal complaint. No one wanted that heat. Not over jam. Behind the scenes, Meghan's brand team was hemorrhaging credibility. Even influencers who had been paid in advance to promote the product started backing out. Some deleted their scheduled posts, others posted vague disclaimers distancing themselves from the brand entirely. When the influencer class, usually the first to hype a new lifestyle brand, starts pulling away, it's a clear sign the narrative isn't recoverable. And just like that, Meghan's big pivot from royalty to pantry goods had hit a wall. Not because the market wasn't ready, but because her product wasn't. The jars may have been beautifully labeled, the fonts may have been flawless, but in the world of consumer goods, especially luxury food, there's no hiding behind aesthetics when the product itself simply doesn't hold up. While Meghan's PR team scrambled and retailers jumped ship, a very different reaction was reportedly unfolding across the Atlantic, in the marble corridors of Buckingham Palace.
I don't know what to call myself. I think it speaks to this chapter many of us find ourselves in, where none of us are one note, but I believe the notes I'm playing are part of the same song. I mean,
oh my God, this is...
According to insiders, the jam debacle became the subject of private laughter among royal aides and even some family members. Not out of cruelty, but out of poetic irony. After all, Meghan had walked away from royal life to chart her own path, free from titles, tradition, and tabloid intrusion. She wanted to build something personal, something modern, something hers. But now, her very first independent venture had been brought down by a celebrity chef and a jar of jam. A former palace staffer allegedly leaked that several senior royals found the entire situation deeply amusing. One reportedly remarked during a private gathering, she wanted to escape the headlines. Now look at her! Jamgate is in the papers! There was something undeniably symbolic about it. Meghan had once been the face of modern royal disruption, poised, bold, and breaking with centuries-old norms. Now she was being mocked online not for political statements or family drama, but because her luxury jam had been publicly ridiculed as a crime against fruit. And the timing? Even worse. The As Ever brand had been pitched as a wellness-forward lifestyle empire, with rumors swirling about future product expansions, cookware, books, perhaps even a cooking show. Meghan had been in quiet talks with several high-end partners, including a major grocery chain and an international distributor. Those conversations reportedly went cold overnight. One executive, speaking off the record, was brutally honest. "We can't sell something the entire internet's turned into a punchline." And while the palace remained officially silent, there was a growing sense that Meghan had, in a strange way, made their point for them. That she was still learning what it really meant to build something from the ground up without the cushion of titles or tabloid protection. There's no royal protocol for brand failure, no palace statement to soften the blow, just a rapidly collapsing narrative and a public watching it unfold in real time. And perhaps that was the cruelest twist of all. This wasn't a scandal involving leaked letters or palace feuds. This was a jam jar, a scone, a single bite. And it had done more damage to Meghan's public image than most tabloid exposés ever could. Because in this moment, stripped of royal titles and press management, Meghan had to face something truly humbling: the brutal honesty of public taste. Just when Meghan's team thought things couldn't get worse, they did. A leaked video, only 12 seconds long, surfaced from inside the restaurant kitchen. It wasn't flashy or edited. No dramatic music, no commentary, just raw footage from a phone camera, shaky and dimly lit, capturing a moment that would become iconic in all the wrong ways. In the clip, a kitchen staff member can be seen scraping Meghan's jam off a row of uneaten scones and tossing the plate contents directly into a waste bin. In the background, faint laughter can be heard. Low, almost nervous, but unmistakable. Someone mutters, "Guess that's the last of that." And just like that, the final nail was hammered into the jam jar. The clip exploded across platforms. On TikTok, it gained over 5 million views in under 48 hours. On Twitter, users slowed it down, analyzed it frame by frame, and added their own sarcastic narrations. YouTubers inserted it into breakdown videos titled things like, "Meghan's Jam, the brand that imploded in one bite." The worst part? No one issued a response. Not Ramsay, not the restaurant, not even Meghan. And maybe that silence said more than any press release ever could.
She actually sold candles scented like her vagina. I mean, for God's sake, the woman has made fortune. Not that she needed to, she is a multimillionaire, but she's made an absolute fortune doing this lifestyle brand and everything. And obviously Meghan thought she could do that.
Yeah, but
Viewers interpreted the quiet as confirmation that the jam hadn't just failed. It had been rejected behind closed doors, too. The kitchen staff's reaction, those stifled laughs, only added to the public's sense that the product wasn't just bad, it was embarrassing. Not just unpalatable, but ridiculous. What had started as a dream launch was now a case study in how quickly a luxury product can crash and burn in the age of virality. And while Meghan's team worked overtime behind the scenes to regain control, the truth was painfully clear. The internet had already moved on, without her. No statement, no spin, just silence, and millions of people watching a spoonful of jam get dumped in the trash. In the end, it wasn't the tabloids that brought Meghan's lifestyle empire to its knees. It wasn't royal drama, leaked texts, or tell-all interviews. It was something simpler, something messier. One bite of jam and a brutally honest review. And that's what makes this entire saga so different from everything that came before it. Meghan has spent years trying to control her image, crafting narratives through carefully chosen projects, spotlight interviews, and glossy branding. She's fought back against public opinion more times than most celebrities do in a lifetime. She launched podcasts, Netflix specials, and now this wellness venture, all with one goal: to own her story. But this time, the story wasn't hers to tell. The jam wasn't just a failed product. It became a symbol, a metaphor for the danger of building something that looks perfect on the outside, but lacks the substance to survive scrutiny. The pastel labels, the buzzwords, the soft focus aesthetic, all of it crumbled the moment the product was put to the test.
Behind, or in a beekeeper's suit and things like that. And she clearly wants privacy for her family, obviously, unless she doesn't want privacy for her family when she wants to make money. That hasn't gone down very well.
And in that moment, Meghan lost more than a jar of raspberry jam. She lost a layer of credibility. Consumers today are more skeptical than ever. They can smell inauthenticity like spoiled milk. And while Meghan might still have loyal fans and a powerful platform, this saga exposed a truth she may not have been ready for. A brand built on image alone is only as strong as its weakest product. And this one? It wasn't just weak. It was weaponized by the public. Some failures are quiet, others are absorbed, learned from, and moved past. But then there are failures like this, so loud, so viral, so complete, that they become impossible to ignore. Meghan's jam didn't just flop, it detonated. And in doing so, it unraveled a larger conversation about fame, authenticity, and what it really takes to build something that lasts. Somewhere in Los Angeles, Meghan and her team are no doubt reassessing everything: the product line, the messaging, the next step. Rumors swirl about a rebrand, maybe a shift into cookware or lifestyle books, maybe even a show. But the reality remains: you only get one first impression. And Meghan's came with a spoon.